Greetings and welcome to Ethio-Digest. Thank you for joining us. In today's program, we want to present to you a statement by the Amhara Fano National Movement regarding the upcoming Ethiopian election. This is a complete translation by Ethio-Digest. Thank you for joining us. March 15th, 2026. We will not tolerate or endure any group that is aligned with the enemy to subject our people for more atrocities. An Amhara Fano National Movement declaration regarding the upcoming election of the current regime. Under the Ethiopian skies and across the Ethiopian landscape, men and women, children and the elderly and the youth of the Amhara people are being indiscriminately and brutally massacred by a genocidal war declared by the Prosperity Party. And the Amhara people are standing up and are putting up a fight to protect themselves from extinction and are advancing victoriously. The war launched by the regime is not limited to Amharas only, but it is also the cause of a widespread bloodshed in other parts of the country. The warmongering regime is the cause for this absence of peace. While the nation is languishing in war and immersed in conflict, and its children are massacred by its own army, and the media outlets are suppressed and closed, the regime has activated its own cabinet members described as rivals, and its war criminal generals at the heads of its security and military forces, and has launched an election campaign. Anyone who knows the nature of this regime understands that this election will neither be free nor fair, but will be worse than the shameful elections that have taken place in the past. The Amhara Fano National Movement understands this election to be designed and planned by the regime to officially authorize, certify, and validate the regime's atrocities against the Amhara people and all Ethiopians for the next 5 years. Therefore, we would like to present the following reminders regarding this fraudulent election that will enable the systematic killing of the Amhara people by utilizing all available means of warfare, including drones and mechanized brigades and units. First, to political parties. The Amhara people, who are facing an existential threat they have never encountered in their history, continue to be subjects of worsening massacre and the genocidal campaign unleashed by the regime. These killings of the Amhara people are not kept secret. Innocent people are being slaughtered in their own homes. Cities are being destroyed by heavy artillery and heavy guns, and our people are being attacked for their identity. Therefore, our struggle is a struggle to save our people from destruction, which we believe cannot be achieved by any peaceful means. This tyrannical regime, known for its proprietary characteristics of lying, its behavioral stigma of deceiving, betraying, and dissimulating and hate, should not surprise us when it makes the election its priority. We have learned that the international community, which encourages and accepts and benchmarks democratic elections, has completely understood the nature of this regime and has abandoned and discarded this fraudulent election scheme. But we have also learned that institutional leaders, media figures, religious leaders, civic associations, and political parties are in the process of escorting and cheering the regime in this venture. We find this display of their unabashed complacency to murder to be horrific and shameful. The fact that we find these elements who have either aligned with the tyrannical regime or have kept their silence while Amharas are enduring a 3-year-old destructive war, and now endorsing and cheering this fraudulent and rigged election, confirms that they have not only abandoned the struggle, but they have also betrayed the very existence of the Amharas. Thus, we would want it to be known that political parties and entities that support the election process in any way or form and grant the regime a license to continue slaughtering our people are considered enemies of the Amhara people. Knowing that this election will not solve the fundamental problems of Ethiopia, and knowing that it will only divert the people's attention, we urge you to distance yourselves from this process. But for those of you who deliberately abandon our call and continue to participate, endorse, or indulge in this feast of blood, we want to make it known that we will categorically place you in the same camp as the regime, and that we will fight against you. Second, to all Amharas, you are second to none in utilizing all available peaceful means of struggle. But instead of answering your fair and legitimate questions and solving your problems, the regime has chosen to summarily execute Amharas. It is no secret that the projected election is designed for one purpose: to allow the regime enjoy more time to destroy you. While you are being massacred by these drone attacks on a daily basis, and while your children are languishing in the regime's detaining centers and prisons, for you to allow this election drama to take place would be signing your own death warrant. Thus, we call upon you to courageously resume your relentless multifaceted struggle. Third, to all Ethiopians, to try to explain to you, the Ethiopian people, the suffering and the torment Amharas are enduring would only be as good as recapping what you have already witnessed in real time. In denial of this 3-year atrocious war it carried out using its air force, its mechanized divisions, and the ground troops, the regime has recently surfaced in the media, claiming the possibility of an election by saying, "Since we live in peace, we will hold a peaceful election." Mouthpieces owned by the regime and hired hands and talking heads have unashamedly started to mimic and employ the word peace in their conversations. If we allowed the regime to remain in power, we should be cognizant of the danger of enduring additional torment worse than what we already went through. And thus, you should refrain from cooperating in this bogus election. Instead, we urge you to rather remain alert and ready to join the last chapter of our struggle, where we will launch a coordinated and integrated people's insurrectionary movement. Fourth, to media outlets. In addition to massacring and exterminating its own people, Abiy Ahmed's dictatorial regime has antagonized everyone and has prevented the nation from enjoying good relationships with its neighbors. The agreements he ends up signing during his foreign travels and in his relationships, and after discussions with some more developed countries, are not about machinery to expedite the nation's development and progress, but are transactions involving weapons and arms of mass destruction. These signing ceremonies are not about peace agreements, but are about agreements that provoke and conduct war. After its ascension to power, deceiving Ethiopians and began to rule without peace, the regime was not satisfied by the 3-year-old genocidal war it carried out against the Amhara people. It is now working day and night to open the floodgates of war and conflict in all the regions of the country. Therefore, cognizant of the reality that it is the foolhardy to even think about an election, let alone holding one, and cognizant of the fact that it would be impossible to do so when Ethiopia is engaged in a protracted and devastating genocidal war, and when the Amhara people are being massacred continually for the last 3 years. We call on those of you in the media who have vowed to serve the people to fulfill your historical mission by conveying to the global community the dire circumstances Ethiopians and Amharas are immersed in, by inviting ethically sound intellectuals and professionals to explicate the current existing reality to the world. Fifth, to the international community. The endurance of Ethiopians through innumerable hardships in their history is nothing new to the world. But in times such as this, when the dictatorial regime of Colonel Abiy Ahmed is dragging the nation into the most horrific and miserable state, and when he is promoting and provoking a chaotic and endless war throughout the entire region, you should consider the extent the regime is willing to go to mislead and distract the world's attention, when it unashamedly started advertising about holding an election. We urge you to stand along the Amhara struggle for survival and save Ethiopia from the regime that subjects its citizens to mass displacement and persecution and abuse, and the regime that has adopted perpetual war and conflict, continual crisis and chaos as its guiding principle. We want to respectfully ask you to stand with us in our struggle to bring about a systemic change. Sixth, to anti-prosperity forces fighting against the regime. Our homeland, Ethiopia, is found in the most critical juncture it has ever encountered in its history. Leaving aside and ignoring the people's yearning and desire for change, the regime that came to power by manipulating the unusual circumstances has plunged the nation into perpetual war, continual societal displacement, and an interminable economic decline. Our national unity is also threatened. Therefore, to reverse this extremely dangerous journey of a nation towards its fall and save Ethiopia, we should realize that a radical systemic change is the only option. And before the regime buys more time by utilizing this bogus election to resume its horrific killing of its subjects, we call on you to come and align together and develop a common and well-integrated national strategic plan and resume our fight together. Seventh, to teachers, leaders of educational institutions and civil servants. We are all aware of the fact that the regime has decided to mainly use you to hold this bogus election, an undertaking to distract and confuse the public. Due to your close proximity to everyday people, you are virtually granted an uncommon knowledge about the bloody war being waged against the Amhara people. Therefore, we want to entrust you to officially and formally show your allegiance to your people by rejecting the regime's proposed elections. And finally, we want it to be known that an order was issued and handed to our entire army forces to take action against those who are aligned with the enemy, and those who do not heed to our calling, and those who disobey our instructions, who collectively are lined up to help subject our people for more death and suffering. Amhara Fano National Movement. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our presentation for the day. Thank you for joining us, and we wish you the best of times.